All right, welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Always exciting to be back.
You guys sent in a ton of articles this week about, well,
Elon Musk.
yeah, you know him. This time it's about a salute he gave at Trump's inauguration.
That's right. It really blew up online.
Yeah, it did, and it seems like everyone had a take.
And a pretty strong one at that.
Definitely not your typical inauguration moment.
No, not at all. And it really gets you thinking.
Yeah, like, is this just Elon being Elon, or did he actually cross the line this time?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Well, more like the million retweet question, right?
I guess so, yeah.
So let's set the scene a little.
All right, let's do it.
This all went down at Trump's, inauguration celebration at Capital One Arena.
Oh, right. I remember that. Huge crowd.
Yeah, massive. And
Oh.
apparently Musk was, well, he seemed pretty fired up about the whole man on Mars thing.
Which, let's be honest, is classic Elon.
Oh, absolutely. Space travel,
Yeah.
electric cars,
Always pushing the boundaries.
Exactly. So anyway, in the middle of all this excitement, he does this salute.
Right, the one that caused all the fuss?
Yep. Pounds his chest first, then shoots his right arm up in the air, like kind of at an angle.
Very distinct, almost theatrical.
Yeah, and then, get this, he turns his back to the crowd.
Really?
Yeah, and repeats the gesture towards the American flag.
Now that is a powerful image.
Oh, it was. And the CNN anchors, well, they were all over it.
Of course they were.
They called it, and I'm quoting here, odd-looking and evocative of things we've seen through history.
Evocative. That's a loaded word, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Subtly has never been their strong suit.
Not even close. And that comparison, well, that just threw gasoline on the fire.
Oh, yeah. Social media exploded.
People were calling it a Nazi salute. Others were saying it was a Roman salute.
And, of course, you had the Musk fans saying it was just, him being enthusiastic.
Oh, yeah. The good old Elon being Elon defense.
It always comes up.
Right. And the articles you sent, some of the reactions were pretty wild.
Oh, I bet people love to overreact online.
Totally. So there was this one guy on Bluesky who just flat out said, yeah, Elon gave a Sieg Heil.
Wow, that's pretty extreme.
Yeah. And then on X, a Democratic strategist tweeted that Musk was our new co-president giving a Nazi salute.
Yikes. That's a bit much, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Talk about jumping to conclusions.
Totally. But it does show you the power of symbols, right?
Oh, absolutely. And how easily they can be, well, twisted.
For sure. And it's not like Musk was, spouting fascist rhetoric or anything.
No, his speech was definitely pro-Trump, but not explicitly fascist from what I remember.
Yeah, same here. And, those who follow him know he's, well...
Let's just say he's a bit of a character.
Yeah, he's got his own way of doing things.
A unique sense of humor, to put it mildly.
Oh, yeah, some of his supporters were quick to point that out, too.
Right, just harmless fun, typical Elon, that sort of thing.
Exactly, but then you have the whole Roman salute argument.
Yes, that's where things get a bit more complicated.
Right, like that gesture, it has a long history.
Well, it goes way back. Ancient Rome, obviously.
Yeah, but then it was adopted and kind of twisted by fascist regimes.
The Nazis being the most infamous example, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. So even if Musk wasn't intentionally doing a Nazi salute...
The historical baggage, it makes it a pretty loaded gesture, to say the least.
Especially at an event like Trump's inauguration.
Right, the political tension was already, well, palpable.
Oh, for sure. And then, to make things even more confusing, you have Musk's reaction.
Oh, yeah, that was something else.
He goes on X and calls it a dirty tricks campaign.
Playing the victim card?
Yeah, and then he throws out this phrase, everyone is Hitler.
Now, that's a bit extreme, isn't it?
Oh, totally. Not exactly the most measured response.
It doesn't really scream innocence, does it?
No, not really. Like, wouldn't you expect someone who's being falsely accused to be a little more,
Strategic.
Yeah, strategic in their denial.
Makes you wonder if his defensiveness is, well, genuine.
Or maybe he's trying to hide something. I don't know.
A legitimate fear of being unfairly targeted.
It's hard to say. And then to throw another wrench into the works, you have the ADL.
The Anti-Defamation League.
Yeah, they came out and said they don't believe it was a Nazi salute.
Interesting. That seems to contradict a lot of the public outcry, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. They called it more of an awkward gesture.
Awkward, huh? That's an interesting choice of words.
Right. So how do we make sense of all this?
Well, maybe we need to take a closer look at the man himself.
Yeah, this isn't exactly Musk's first brush with controversy.
Especially when it comes to, well, the far right.
Right. And the articles you sent, they actually highlighted a few instances where...
He's dabbled in those waters.
Yeah, dabbled is a good word for it. Yeah, like his support for that alternative for Deutschland Party in Germany, the AfD.
Ah, yes, that's right, the AfD.
And for those who don't know,
They're considered far-right, definitely a controversial party.
yeah, with some, let's just say, questionable connections.
They definitely face criticism for their rhetoric and ties to certain groups.
Yeah, it's not just that he voiced support for them, though, right?
No, he went a step further. He actually had their leader on X for a conversation.
Right, like hosted him, which is
A pretty big deal, giving them a platform, you know?
definitely sends a message. And then there's, well, his online persona.
Ah, yes, the usernames, the profile
It's
pictures,
just Kickius Maximus and Pepe the Frog.
symbols associated with, well, the alt-right.
Is he just trolling, or do you think there's something more to it?
That's a good question.
Kickius Maximus, that came from, like, World of Warcraft, right?
That's right. It started as a meme, but then the alt-right adopted it.
So it's like almost a coded language, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely a way to signal to certain groups.
Exactly. And then there's his support for Tommy Robinson.
The far-right activist in the UK.
Yeah, and he also criticized the prison sentence given to that neo-Nazi involved in those riots there.
It starts to paint a bit of a pattern, doesn't it?
It does. So we have the ADL downplaying the salute, but then all these other actions and associations.
It takes you wonder, right?
Like, is he genuinely sympathetic to this ideology or just trying to provoke people?
Is it attention-seeking or something deeper?
It's like he wants to present himself as this champion of free speech.
But then he flirts with these ideas that a lot of people find, well, reprehensible.
It's a weird mix, and the articles brought up another interesting parallel.
Oh, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Laura Ingraham, remember her?
The Fox News host? Sure.
She did a similar salute back in 2016 at the Republican National Convention.
Ah, yes, I remember that. Sparked accusations of fascism.
Big time, and people were analyzing every frame of that video, trying to figure out what she meant.
The internet loves a good controversy.
Oh, absolutely. And like Musk, Ingraham denied any bad intentions.
But the comparison is there, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. One writer from Slate even said it clearly resembled a Nazi salute, whether she meant it or not.
So now we have two high-profile figures, both with a lot of influence.
Doing these gestures that evoke, well, some pretty uncomfortable comparisons.
Is it coincidence, clumsiness, or something more calculated?
And it's the context that makes it so hard to just dismiss.
Right. A single gesture might be open to interpretation.
But then you consider the individuals involved, their past actions, the political climate.
It adds another layer, doesn't it?
Totally. And someone like Musk, with his platform, his influence,
His actions carry weight, whether he intends it or not.
they send a message, and those messages can shape how people think and act.
That's why this whole salute thing has become such a big deal.
It forces us to think about symbolism, free speech versus hate speech.
The responsibility that comes with having a massive platform like Musk's.
It's a lot to unpack, so where does that leave us then, I
I
mean?
think a bit of a puzzle, I think.
Yeah, we've got the salute that nobody can quite agree on.
So many interpretations floating around.
And then you've got Musk and his history of, well, pushing the envelope, shall we say.
It's hard to know what to make of it all.
Feels like we're in this hall of mirrors trying to make sense of it all, you know?
Absolutely, and that's the core question, isn't it?
Like, what do we do with this?
Given his influence, and let's be honest, his tendency to stir the pot.
Oh, yeah, he loves that.
Should we be concerned about this embrace of these symbols and figures?
Even if we can't say for sure what he meant by the salute itself.
Yeah, is it a sign of something bigger or just Elon being...
Right, exactly.
Like, we can analyze the gesture, look at what he said, his past actions, but...
We can't get inside his head.
Yeah, we don't know for sure what he was thinking.
But even with that uncertainty...
We can't just ignore it, can we?
No, we can't, because these symbols, they hold power.
And they can change meaning, depending on who's using them and in what context.
That's what makes this so tricky.
It's not black and white, is it?
Not at all.
It's this big gray area.
Where intentions aren't clear, people see different things. And it's hard to draw the line between, you know, free expression and something more dangerous.
And that's why these discussions, even when they're uncomfortable, they're so important.
Right. We have to be able to talk about this stuff.
Look at things from different sides. Wrestle with these questions.
Without just resorting to, you know, knee-jerk reactions.
Or shutting down the conversation entirely.
It feels like this whole episode has been one giant think piece. You know?
I see what you mean. We started with a salute, and now...
Now we're talking about symbols, ideology, the responsibility of people with power.
The whole nature of free speech online,
It's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But that's the point of a deep dive, isn't it?
You said we go beyond the surface, look at the complexity of, well, everything.
Exactly.
Well, you've certainly given us a lot to think about.
I hope so. That's the goal.
For me, I think the takeaway is we can't just passively consume information.
Especially in this world where things can be manipulated so easily. We have to be critical thinkers, question everything, be willing to have these conversations.
Even the tough ones, that's so important.
Couldn't agree more. In this world, being able to think for yourself.
To analyze information, it's more crucial than ever.
Well said. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been
quite a ride.
It really has. And to everyone listening, keep those minds working and don't stop questioning the world around you.
We'll see you next time.
Until then.